says that's because investors are paying attention to different things in D.C., fiscal and monetary policy, which I think Dan Clifton, head of policy research at Strategas Research, which is a Baird company, both of those are going to be positive, I think, at least for GDP, aren't they? Dan, there's some serious scratch coming our way in the economy from these things.
Absolutely, Joe. Great to see you. I mean, there's a lot of noise here from Washington, and there are some real risks. China, what's going on in Russia. Those are definitely risks. But when you look at the pipeline of fiscal and monetary stimulus coming down the road, companies just received $100 billion, the first tranche of the One Big Beautiful Bill tax cuts for making investments in America. You're going to get $150 billion of tax refunds on the consumer side in February, March, and April. And it's clear now the Fed is more worried about employment than they are about inflation, and that there seems to be a Fed rate cutting cycle come in. And just to add to that, on Tuesday, the Fed chairman came out and said, hey, you know what? We're going to stop contracting our balance sheet, the quantitative tightening process. So you have two stools of monetary policy, two stools of fiscal policy. And I believe that the equity market is pricing in growth, and it makes it easier to withstand the government shutdown with the idea that we'll get it resolved at some point and the government's got to reopen, and allow us to kind of just at least take a deep breath on what China's trying to do on rare earths and how these negotiations are going with Russia, Ukraine.
When I saw you talking about corporations in the OBBB, yep. I looked up because it's not just an extension of the 21% from 2017 for corporations. Can you list all the other things? There's expensing. There's all kinds. There's like 5 other things that will help corporations that were in that bill.
Absolutely. And so if you want to onshore, you want to create the incentives to onshore. And so what this bill does is it gave 100% expensing of property. You build a factory in America, we'll let you write that off. That's what that bill did. Now, that hasn't really happened yet, but the way it was designed, it was retroactive to January 1st. So any company that made an investment in a capped good order, or any company that did research and development, they got a retroactive tax cut on September 15th. And let me just talk to you about how big this is. It's been about $100 billion of tax cuts that they got in the month of September. It's almost identical to the amount of tariffs that have been enacted since Trump's come into office. And so what we call this, Joe, is the sterilization impact. You're sterilizing the negative impact of tariffs with fiscal policy. And I think a lot of the data that we have been seeing over the last month or two is backward looking now, because we've just replenished companies to be able to make investments, keep employees in place, maybe even hire some employees. And that's why I think that growth's going to reaccelerate into 2026.
A couple of things that are concerning, Dan, that occurred to me. Okay, so the OBBB, we got to get this no king thing out of the way probably. But I didn't realize. So TSA. If they start not showing, do we just basically freeze the airline? Could that happen near term? That's not good for the economy.
Now, I've been on the road the last 2 weeks. I'm on the road right now. I've had no problem with flights. I'm probably jinxing myself. You do see a little bit of a slowdown at the TSA, but what's going to happen is federal employees that miss one paycheck, they're probably going to make a second paycheck. Once that happens, then you start to see people calling out. You start to see slowdown starting to happen, and that's a pressure. I will tell you the biggest pressure I see right now is that you have congressional aides who don't make a lot of money, and they're going to have a rent payment due, and their boss is keeping the government closed. So don't underestimate the internal pressure from the congressional aides, and you do have to get past these no king rallies. It's just hard to see the Democrats making some sort of deal before the no kings rally on Saturday. I think once you clear that out and they start to realize there's elections coming in New Jersey and Virginia, people need to start getting paid. I think you'll start seeing some resolution, even if it's a short-term resolution, to be able to start to resolve this government shutdown. But this has not been a confidence-inspiring mission from our members of Congress, given that they've kept this government shutdown over really relatively small issues. And if you look at the president's basically saying, like, I'm doing world peace in Russia and the Middle East, and Congress is playing these small ball games by keeping the government shut down.
It's a CR. It's a CR. If someone told me we're not doing a continuing resolution because we want to make sure that a no kings rally gets enough that they're not, telling us we folded. That would make me mad. If I was a government employee and I was, I'd switch. I'd turn into a Republican from that.
Absolutely. The risk for the Democrats here is that the federal employees in Northern Virginia get upset at everybody and they just don't show up.
Yeah.
That means fewer Democrats are going to show up. And so all of a sudden, if you start seeing the New Jersey and Virginia races closing, and the New Jersey race is already closing, this could actually turn against the Democrats in a shutdown right now where they're holding their ground because they think they're winning. So they got to be very careful on how they approach this in the next week.
The other